Hello and welcome to Who Does Roles TV. I am your host Mike B, and welcome to August. Here it is. August has arrived with a thump. Wow, lots to unpack, lots to cover. So this could be a bit of an epic thing where I'll try and keep it as neat and tidy as possible. Let's do some stuff we've played, I guess. Yes, let's do that.
What's Mike played? I really want to know what Mike's played. What you played, Mike?
So, stuff played over the weekend. Been very busy. I played a bit of another game of Dinogenics, which we played the other week. We mentioned that. It was a kind of similar to Dinosaur Island. Second play of it, I explored the avenues of player interaction. Take that, because I was just tweaking with it. And it's rather than Dinosaur Island, there seems to be less of that. This does actually, Dinogenics has a lot of cards, event cards, and a deck that you can play around with that allows you to mess with other players. So I did that, and I proved to be very unpopular. I didn't win. I did, however, have some Megalodons, which were very nice, because who wouldn't want a Megalodon park? Yes, and I enjoyed it as much the second time as the first time. And I can definitely now see, having another subsequent play, that there is differences between Dinosaur Island and Dinogenics. They're still equally entertaining games. I still haven't come down the side of which ones, if there's one better. They play a little differently, but yeah, I enjoyed it. It was very good. If you're on the fence, maybe do a bit more homework, but Dinogenics did seem to have a little bit more, when I played around with it, of how you could mess with other players, which was highly entertaining for me. So there we go, we did that. We played some Downforce, which is a racing game for restoration games. Very good, a bit Camel Up-ish in that you're betting and you're racing with card play. It's simple, but it's a really good game. I really enjoy Downforce. Just as a very light, get it to the table at the end of an evening, play it in about 20-30 minutes, really. Plays up to 6, I think, in total. I think you can play up to maybe 5. But yeah, a really cracking little racing card game. You're no dice, you're playing cards to move your cars around. There's a couple of tracks out. I'm waiting for the other. There's one more expansion coming of another track, actually, which looks kind of cool. But yeah, very good. And then the main event on Sunday night, we delved into TI4, Twilight Imperium 4. We had a 4-player game of that. Me, Jamie, Tony, and Robbie. Loved a bit of TI4. Always liked Twilight Imperium 3. It was bloated Fantasy Flight Games. It's their flagship game. If you don't know about it, it's a big Ameritrash, space opera, huge big board presence. You can maybe see some of it here. I'll probably do some more video of that. Plays up to 6, I think, in the original version. Then they expanded it some more. It is just a big, epic space opera game. There's politics, there's wars, there's cold wars you have, there's people fighting out, it's rolling dice. It is all of that. It just kind of finessed into this monstrous, huge playtime, sprawling space opera game. I love it. TI4 is a brilliant revision of the 3rd edition. It just streamlines everything down, does make it more playable, more easier to teach, easier to get to the table, just tweaks everything TI3 did, but in such a sometimes subtle but brilliant way to make it a fine game, a fantastic game. There's a documentary by Shut Up and Sit Down, which went into the design process and how TI4 came to be, which is well worth a watch if you've got about an hour or so to do it. It is a good watch. And if you don't know of Twilight Imperium, then it's a very good history lesson. There's all the various versions of it and where it's failed and where it's done and what a monstrous beast it is. Yes, so definitely watch that if you've not seen it. It's very good. So we had a big game. There was a fairly full-on battle. I was playing the Sardak Noir, which is like essentially kind of like the bugs out of Starship Troopers, kind of, really. These insect things, warlike. There was a Federation of Soul, which is more like the Earthers, which Jamie was playing. Then there's the Space Lions, which was played by Tony, and Robbie was playing the Arbororek, I think, which are kind of like plant creatures. It was a epic battle. It started up flash ups, and as the battle progressed over, I think it was about 7 or 8 turns. Took us to 1 in the morning. We eventually called it about 1:30 because it was clear that Jamie had the advantage, was going to win in that final round. Huge battles. I mean, as you can see, there was the fleet movements all over the place. I kind of did a bit of turtling at the start before building my forces. I was kind of tech building and stuff, just get myself to a point where I was able to kind of reach out and start decimating the enemy. And I was in a very good position to do that. I would have been able to play the long game. If it had been more victory points, I probably would have come out of it a bit more of a successful role. So I rolled in, really, I think in last place, kind of middling, third to fourth place with Robbie on that one. Jeremy stormed it. Cracking game. Lots of edgy of your seat, Cold War-ish type space shenanigans. Brilliant. Love that. Very good. Obviously, that was inspired to play that from the news, which we're doing news now. News! So yes, the play of TI4 was obviously inspired by Gen Con, Virtual Gen Con was going on this weekend. Which I'll come to in a minute. But the big news out of that, or for me anyway, the big news out of that was FFG finally announced the Prophecy of Kings expansion, which is the big box. Like, I think I've seen it mixed from about 75 quid up to about £100 for it, the pre-order on this, which is a huge box of stuff. Adds tons of stuff. It adds, running through very briefly on here, 7 new factions, so boosting that up. Lots of very cool looking factions in there. 40 new system tiles, so a huge amount of map variety now available to it. 2 sets of components of ships and stuff for 2 additional players. You can play up to 8 players. Madness. 8 players. TI4 one day. Leaders, which is essentially, it allows you to have these 3 different leaders. They're one-time, very powerful abilities you unlock during the game. They look very cool. All the races have got those. An exploration deck, which come out of the TI3 expansions, which essentially means that you can explore the different planets. In the base vanilla version TI4, there is planets that have different things. There's industrial planets and hazardous planets in this. These card decks, now you draw for them when you go to these planets and explore them, and they have extra hidden surprises. There is relics now in this deck where you can find pieces of ancient alien tech that maybe you can assemble the parts to build it into some probably mad mega weapon. Loads of new cards, new tech, new politics cards, new loads of stuff, just loads of stuff. Legendary planets, not sure what they are, they sound cool. Mechs, miniatures, so every force will now have mechs. There's an extra infantry unit on planets. Their boast is that it won't add additional playtime to your game. I can't see how that is in any way fathomable as a thing that's going to happen. I don't care. But yes, massively excited with that. I have pre-ordered my copy of it because it's out in September, I believe. It's not far away. There was, as you would have seen, there's a video rolling around here somewhere, which is the unboxing they did during Gen Con Live, FFG did. So you can see some bits and pieces there. It's a big box, lots of stuff in it. I mean, this is like almost another base game. It isn't, but there seems to be a huge amount of content in there. I love Twilight Imperium, always have, even from its early TI3 when I played that quite a bit. And that was a cranky, stodgy game, but a good game, meaty, stupid game. TI4, as I said, is a streamlined, beautiful beast. If you can get the players and you've got the time, then there is no other game really like it. There's Eclipse, which I've never played Eclipse, if I'm honest with you. I'm firmly down the Twilight Imperium road. Eclipse is something I'm tempted by. I know it's more Euro-y 4X type game, but I'm all about the meta trash, all about the story, about the thematic, rah, and TI4 does that in spades. Cracking evening entertainment of that. I cannot wait for September to roll around for the expansion. I probably will drop more as the months go by or the weeks go by, maybe a bit more meat on that because it kind of looks quite exciting. But yes, definitely a full-on pitched a tent in regards to that beauty. As you may have told, I'm a tad excited about that. Other thing came out of it, there was a tease, and there literally is a tease. All we've seen is the rather large box for Descent 3rd Edition. Very little else has been released at this point in time. I think it's Journeys in the Dark, I think it's called. I'm going to sip my coffee. Rumour on the grapevine is this is FFG's attempt as a Gloomhaven beta. Who knows? Now, usually FFG's biggest problem is often their base set boxes of games mostly tend to be a bit lacking in that they feel exactly what they are is that base set box, which you know you're going to be bolting on expansions. Journeys to Middle-earth is a prime example. Big fat box. quite light in components, really, in comparison, and it did feel like it was desperately searching for more content, which has subsequently come out. Outer Rim's another one. Again, not a bad start, but it feels that it's just something's held back from it. So it'd be interesting what they do, because if they're waving around we're Gloomhaven beta type stick, there's a lot of content in that Gloomhaven box. There's an awful lot of playtime. I mean, we played it for a year, and there was one expansion subsequently come out for it that I've not yet played. So I don't know. I'm cautious on that one. Descent is a game that I've played the second edition. There's now the app. There's lots of integration of that and all sorts of stuff. I felt that Imperial Assault was a better implementation of the Descent system. The issue I've always had with Descent, and generally all the Terranoff stuff that's come from FFG, is their fantasy world just feels a bit doesn't really, it just feels very generic. There's nothing in it that kind of, it's exciting, if you get my meaning. It's all right, but it just feels very much like a middle of the road fantasy world environment. There's nothing terribly inspiring about it, and it's never really grabbed me. Descent second edition, played a bit off, didn't really take to it. I didn't really like how it kind of worked. As I said, I thought Imperial Assault was a much better implementation of that one versus many dungeon mastery type role. We shall see what they do in Descent third edition. I'm currently with it. I'm not jumping out of my pants in anticipation for it or anything else. So we shall see what comes up. Off the back of that, other news, obviously, Gen Con happened. No, I've got nothing about Gen Con. Gen Con, Virtual Gen Con was on over this weekend. I signed up for it. I did look at it. I'll be honest with you, I was working most of the weekend, so I didn't have a whole lot of free time anyway. I went in and looked at the Virtual Con experience. There was an awful lot of stuff seemed to be going on. There didn't seem to be any easy way of finding anything out. There was just a lot of stuff, and there was a lot of seminars, and there was a lot of games you could join in. You could pay. It felt a bit like microtransaction-ish to be able to actually play into some of this online stuff. I never did any of that. So yeah, I did look from afar. I will be honest, I just was like, well, I don't even know where to begin. I don't know where stuff is. I don't know what to find. And I didn't have really the time to invest to kind of dig into it. There seemed to be a lot of stuff going on, but finding your way around it or getting to the stuff you wanted to see or do seemed to be a massive issue, because I couldn't, personally, in the small amount of time I spent trying to navigate my way around, I was just lost. I was just like, I would quite like to see seminars, but there didn't seem to be a place to find them. I didn't know if you had to pay for them. There was some free stuff. So yes, it looked like a lot was going on, and there was obviously a few people in it. I still stand on the thing that I just feel that the Virtual Con experience is not for me. It's not for me. I know we're in the world at the moment we're in, that's tough, you're going to deal with it or not. But yeah, if anyone else did have some fun with Gen Con over the weekend, then maybe I'd be happy to hear any thoughts and opinions on that. As I say, for me, it kind of passed me by. Work related to a certain extent, and family time and everything else. But yeah, I don't know. It just seemed a bit of a yeah. So there's that. Then some general stuff we're doing. So I'm just finishing off my reading of Devolution, which is the Max Brooks book, which is essentially the found footage Bigfoot movie as a book. It's been a very entertaining read. It's a slow burn as it builds up this whole idea of a self-sufficient community somewhere that I can't remember where they were now, but it's called Green Loop. They're all kind of very self-sufficient. City dwellers, city slickers have moved out there, and it's all very nice because they get their drones dropped in food supplies, and it's all kind of lovely. And also, it's very much Irwin Allen kind of modern disaster movie in such a point into a volcano erupts somewhere away, forcing a pack of Bigfoot to tramps their way through them and obviously start hunting and murdering the members of this Greenwood village. It's done mostly in diary entries from one of the participants in this, and it's fine, but the premise kind of falls apart towards the latter half of the book, because essentially it is a kind of a found footage, but we've got diary entries. And there was a point where you kind of had to spend disbelief has to be suspended quite significantly, because you think, well, when are you finding time to write this stuff down? You're being chased by a giant Bigfoot. But if you put that to back of your head, and I was able to just to enjoy it for a rollicking monster movie style book, and I'm fascinated with Bigfoot, love a bit of Bigfoot. Goes back to my early age of watching Snow Beast, the 1977 movie, which is a I've not seen it for years, but I saw it as a child on TV and it terrified the utter shit out of me. Brilliant stuff. But yes, if you're a fan of that very niche Bigfoot genre, it's a cracking read. It's very well done. It's a slow burn, good character piece. Will probably make a very good movie if someone actually spends the time to do it. And I enjoyed it very much, very good. If you're into your Bigfoots, I could strongly recommend Abominable. There we go. This is a 2006 movie. It's by Ryan Shiffrin, who's the son of Lalo Schifrin, who you will know who's the composer of a couple of most notable bits of things he composed were the Mission Impossible theme and the Planet of the Apes soundtracks, if the original movies are those. I mean, that's two definitely things you think. This was a sci-fi movie thing that Ryan did. 2006, as I say. It's got, what's his name? Matt McCoy in it. Essentially, it's a bit Rear Window. He's a mountain climber that's had a terrible accident. He's now paraplegic. He's stuck in a wheelchair. He's in his two-story house with a nurse, and he's watching what's going on in the area around his property. And he starts spying these rather large Bigfoot creatures. And of course, it being a sci-fi movie thing, there is a bit of TNA going on there. There's like a frat house of lots of nubile co-eds in it nearby that he's spying on. But the Bigfoot monsters are very well done. There's Lance Henriksen's in it. There's a host of actually really good character actors. Lance Henriksen. Oh, what's the name? The other guy. Jeffrey Combs. How can I forget Jeffrey Combs? Of Reanimator fame. There's a bunch of they play hunters. There's Paul Gleason, one of his last roles he played, he will know as the principal from The Breakfast Club. He plays a sheriff in it. As I say, the monsters are really well done. I really enjoyed the Bigfoot creatures in it. It's got some blood, guts and gore and mayhem. It's a good story. It's actually well done for a sci-fi movie, which they're normally terrible because they do Sharknado and all that awful shite. It looks good. It's well produced. It looks very well done. There's quite a good story in it. Well acted. Good special effects. And it's Bigfoot. So that comes recommended if you're in that way inclined, if you hunt it down. There is a subsequent other Abominable movies. It's not the one, it's the 2006 version. Anyway, I've gone off. So that was very good fun. I enjoyed that as well. And then from the back of that, I picked up, and I will start reading, is Action Park. From Andy Mulville. I'd say that. So, Action Park, this came to me via Board Game Trading Chat, and actually Chris, the governor, shared a post about Action Park, which up to that point in time I was oblivious to. So, Action Park was a theme park in New Jersey, but it's one of those really cheap, terrible theme parks. We had one as a child, I remember going to, I think it was called Tuptonia. It's one of those places that has grand aspirations, but never really fulfilled by what it is. It's still a bit cheap. Action Park takes it to the extreme in that there was deaths at this park. The rides, I should be chuckling, but I mean, it was going to it was just dangerous. The local populace referred to it as like, I don't remember what they referred to it as. I mean, it's the untold story of America's most dangerous theme park. That's all we really need to say. It's set in the 80s. This is the son of the owner of the original park. They had grand ideas, including a 360 looped water slide that had people stuck in it. They had to put a hatch in eventually so people could get out. People drowning in wave pools and just crazy. Can't wait to read that. It does sound like it would make a wonderful movie. But yes, that will be what I'll be diving into next, because it sounds insane. Maybe a board game. Action Park with a board game. So yes, if you've not tracked that down, have a look at that. Even find the article. There's a couple of good articles there. And they were what inspired me to pick the book up, because I was like, this is fucking insane. So there's that. Then up we've got this, which is Ticklandia. This was sent to me the other day for a review from Dan Ackerman. Dan Ackerman is a reviewer at CNET. He does a lot an American TV, CNN and stuff. He's like a tech guru, a lot of video game background. He's done a journalist for a video game. He wrote the book, I think, The Tetris Effect, which went into how Tetris kind of exploded in the 80s and what would happen with that. So he's very much that style of stuff. This is his first board game. He's coming out. It sounds very cool. This is essentially, I think it's Silicon Valley meets Lovecraft was the tagline of it. And the idea is essentially there's like a tech giant. So if we're thinking like Steve Jobs and Apple, what if Steve Jobs was also a Cthulhu death cultist, and his release of his latest smartphone is also a Lovecraftian death rite to bring about the end of the world. You will play tech sort of journos which are in this game. It set itself up essentially as a 1-to-4 player dungeon crawl in a fairly small box. A lot of story in there, apparently a lot of thematic sort of stuff, playing up against the doomsday clock as you try and uncover the mystery of this Cthulhu-ish death cult thing and stop the launch of this smartphone. So it sounds very cool. I like the setup's unique. I like the sound of it. It sounds very cool. I did like when I saw it on Kickstarter initially, and then I saw Dan was looking for people to review it, and he said I could have a copy to review. So I was like, well, that sounds very cool. Let's have a quick peek in here as we're kind of having an unboxing. So there we go. We got the old rule book in there. Boom, boom, boom. There's some tokens so that we've got the characters you'll be playing are cardboard standees. There is hex tiles for the rooms that you'll be exploring. Fat old card deck. Some cubes, some dice, some more stuff there. More dice. And some smartphone stuff, cards. Looks kind of cool. Component-wise, looks very nice. I did look online and I was kind of taken by it. I like the idea of it. It sounds kind of cool. And it's the idea of a dungeon crawl in a smallish box that you can play in about 90 minutes. 1-to-4 players, so also solo playable. All sounds kind of interesting. I like the theming of it, and it's supposed to be quite a good storytelling game. So we shall see. We'll dive into that once I get through the rest of the backlog of my reviews. Speaking of which, there is Shadows of Killforth that I need to get that wrapped up and done. That will be coming up, though I now got the opportunity to play that with the guys, so I might play that with the guys and kind of do an all-encompassing solo and group playthrough. We'll see. And then there's a bunch of other stuff that I've got all kind of in fairly kind of half-edited state that I need to look at. Coming up, there is a podcast episode that we recorded the other day, or the other week, probably a week or two ago now, with Charlie and Ben. I still need to edit that and get that up. A bunch of Charlie's articles we're doing. I've obviously put up the comic book video the other day, if you've not seen that, and there's other stuff going on. There's lots of stuff going on. So I kind of flew through that because there was an awful lot to cover. So there we go. That is the start of August. That's quite a lot going on for August. There's obviously probably a lot of a fallout of other stuff for Gen Con. I didn't really get a chance to look at, as I say, all of it. So there's probably much more news filtered from that, but the ones I really picked up and walked away from that was the TI4 expansion release, Descent, as I've covered. If there's anything else that I missed, that I'll look at that maybe in the next week or so, and I'll drop some more information about that. But that's it. I think that's us for the minute. Thank you for tuning in. Have a lovely week. Enjoy August that is commenced, and we'll be back at least in another week's time, if I don't drop some reviews before that time, to discuss more nonsense, I'm sure. For the time being, and obviously later in August, I'll be releasing a second releases roundup for Board Game Training and Chat, so I need to start working on that. Reminding me, something else to do. Busy stuff as usual, but yes, as always, it's been a pleasure. Lovely to meet you all again. Lovely to see you new subscribers. Hello, you new subscribers, nice to be here. The giveaway, I'm aware at the back of my head I still need to sort that out. I just need to sort stuff out. Time. That's it. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. There's the website whodiswars.com, and a lot of content on there. There's our Patreon, which I need to look at, maybe to tweak, because if we can get some patronizing, might help, because that's a thing, and other stuff. And for the time being, there's stuff there to entertain yourself if you want. There'll be reviews dropping and things and stuff, and I'm going to wrap up now because this is kind of going on a little bit, a bit like the end of the Lord of the Rings: Return of the King. There's like about 5 endings to this episode, but that was the last one. Bye.
Bye.